Okay, in this video I want to look at three areas that an employer needs to be very careful about before granting an employment contract or before appointing somebody to a position. Those three areas are: one, the interview. You need to be very, very careful that in the interview you're not asking any questions that may raise an inference of discrimination. In other words, that you're not in breach of the employment equality legislation or indeed any equality legislation. So you need to steer quite clear of questions like, if it's a female employee or candidate rather, who's going to look after the kids, or if it's a more senior mature person, asking them, how long do you expect to be here given your age, or something ridiculous of that nature. Those sort of questions clearly need to be avoided at all costs. You need to be careful about employment equality legislation and equality legislation in general. For an employer, I would advise you to keep good notes, take good notes of your interviews and keep good notes, because they will be useful later on if there's any allegation or any complaint made against you of a discriminatory or equality-based claim. The other aspect that you need to be careful about if you're an employer is advertising the position. Again, you need to be careful that you don't fall foul of employment equality legislation, that you don't discriminate or be seen to discriminate in your advertising, and you need to be careful as well that any term or any phrase that is set out in the ad is not subsequently incorporated into the contract of employment, because it's possible that that would be the case if, for example, somebody comes along, applies for a job based on the ad that you've placed. They are going to say, I've accepted that position or was successful in that position based on the advertising, and that it's an implied term in my contract that whatever was set out in the ad would be incorporated in the contract. Finally, the third thing that you need to be careful about or need to use wisely is in your letter of offer, conditions precedent. You may require somebody with, for example, a full driving license. You may require Garda vetting. You may require a medical record or a medical examination. You may require Garda clearance. You may require professional qualification or membership of a professional body. You should set out these conditions precedent in your letter of offer, and that way you'll be covered to ensure that the person does actually qualify for the job. The other thing that I would recommend just in relation to conditions precedent is that you are getting their consent to take up any medical records, or their consent to do a medical examination, or their consent to take up referees. They are the three areas that if I was an employer like you, and I would be careful about: advertising the position, interviewing, and conditions precedent. Three areas prior to the contract. And remember this, that a disgruntled applicant for the job, somebody who is not an employee of yours, can actually bring a claim against you, even though they were ironically never an employee of yours. They can still bring an employment related claim against you based on what has gone on, for example, at the interview or in the ad. So be careful there. I hope you find this useful. If you do, please give it a thumbs up down below, and you might be interested in subscribing to my YouTube channel.